What's up, man?
Hi.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm alright.
Thank you for coming.
Man, thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate
For
it.
real. Yeah, man.
What's your name?
My name is Leonthomas.
Where you from?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
For real?
Yeah.
Where else you from?
Brooklyn, New York.
And where else?
I mean, I also grew up, spent some time in LA, you know, but I'm from New York.
What part of New York you from?
Park Slope.
Fire.
Yeah.
I like that place.
Yeah, Park Slope is a vibe.
I used to be over there sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. I think the interesting part about Park Slope is that they have the best restaurants.
Food is very good over there.
Yeah, I always love just like trying out the new spots that will pop up out there.
Fire.
Yeah, man.
How long you been living in Los Angeles?
It's a long time, 15 years. Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
How old were you when you moved there?
I was like 16. Yeah.
So you lived in New York till you were 16 and then moved to Los Angeles. When was the first time you ever heard yourself on a record?
First time I heard myself on a record, I was 6 years old. My parents had a recording studio out of our house, and we did a Christmas card that was a song that year. And I was singing on it at a very young age, you know. It was kind of cool to like hear my voice for the first time. Because I think when you sing or when you project, you know, you have an idea of what you sound like, but hearing it on speakers is a whole different ballgame.
6 is really young.
Yeah.
You was in the studio? Or
Yeah, they had a studio at the house. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you told me that one time. I remember that.
They had a studio at the house. You know, my dad spent time soundproofing and getting the acoustics right. I mean, it wasn't like the most blown out space of all time, but I mean, he had racks and, you know, a mixing board and lots of keyboards and guitars. So it was cool to like just kind of be around music that early, to kind of have a musical playground to vibe out in.
So after you recorded that and it went out, and did you get like any like love back from like the family? Did anybody call you?
Yeah, everybody was showing love, but I mean, it was cute love, you know. It wasn't like, you know, like, oh my God. Like, it was just like, yeah, you know, that's nice.
I think that's pretty amazing to realize something inside you at 6 and get support, you know, that early on.
Yeah.
Because it's like a lot of times that happens later, you know.
I think back on that a lot, like just the fact that I had a supportive family in the world of music, you know, people who understood that being a creative is a real job, you know, making music and composing is something that should be respected. You know, talking to a lot of my other friends who are creatives, we often speak about how like mom and pops were like, no, be a doctor or even an athlete over like, you know, chasing this pipe dream of music and creativity. But luckily, I just had so many examples of people who were able to make a living and be happy and raise families off of, you know, being themselves.
Amazing. When was the first time you picked up an instrument?
The first time I picked up an instrument, I was 3 years old. I started playing drums really early. My mom was in a world beat group called Mama Tone.
Fire.
And
you never told me that. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah, man. It was really cool. Like, it was like probably like a 14-piece band. And I mean, like a whole drumming section filled with guys playing djembe and, you know, drum sets and all types of stuff, and the singers and, you know, multi-instrumentalists. And, you know, she had a show, you know, in like upstate New York. And, you know, I just ended up, you know, playing drums with, you know, one of the band members.
That's fire.
And like he kind of mentored me, you know, playing instruments from like that age, probably like 12 years old. Just come by the house and, you know, we would vibe out. And then I started messing with drum set around like 6 or 7. But
that's fire.
Yeah, man.
So you started on drums, so percussion first.
Percussion, yeah.
Then drums.
Then like yeah, full set.
Started at 3. So would you consider yourself a prodigy?
You know, that word really means a lot to me. So no. I think there's elements that were just innate to me. Like it just felt like a natural progression to figure things out. I think I'm a good problem solver. But a prodigy, you know, those kids are like geniuses very early. And
geniuses in what way?
I mean, prolific. A lot of them, you know, if you really think about it, like online, like, you know, I follow a lot of Prodigies.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just see the level of musicianship that they're able to attain from a very young age. And to be honest, I really had to work for whatever I've been able to figure out on every instrument that I know. There was really no magic trick there. It was genuinely like me, you know, failing a million times till I felt like,
Understood.
you know, it was my version of success. I didn't have like traditional teachers, but I did grow up in the age of YouTube, so I can't really say I didn't have examples.
Right.
My parents play, so I was able to watch and see certain things and kind of mimic until I found something.
I feel like I would consider you a prodigy.
Well, you know what? That's cool, man. I just didn't want to walk around saying that, knowing that like it ain't really that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, I appreciate that.
Nah,
man.
for real. You a special human.
That's cool. Thanks, man.
It's true.
Thanks.
Since I met you, I know that.
Yeah, man. God is good, man. I feel really blessed. You know, because I mean, I think I was talking to my stepmom about this. She was saying like a lot of the things that I've been able to accomplish, I didn't necessarily have like loads of training in.
Facts.
It was just kind of like I was just kind of not afraid to fail.
Yeah, fearlessness.
Kind of just jumped in.
Yeah. I think that's a part of what I contribute to being a prodigy though. You know, it's vision.
Word.
You know, so it's like a lot of times you can imagine so many things in your mind.
Yeah.
And then you can actually bring them to like physical form without anybody telling you to. And then the level of quality that it has, you attract so many people from it. You know, it's kind of like, that's kind of, if you think about it at first, if you tell somebody what you're going to do in your head out loud, they think it's impossible.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm going to produce for these people, then I'm going to make these albums, then I'm going to see these aspects of the world, then I'm going to be in these films, I'm going to be on this show. You know that. You talk like that to yourself every day.
Absolutely.
Right. And then people tell you like, they look at you like, huh? You know, until they don't anymore. You know, but imagine how long they look at you like that.
Absolutely.
And how many things you do where you hold yourself like accountable for the things you envision, and they're like, why are you acting? Why you did it? Look, and you like, it's not good enough. Yeah. It's like that kind of fire that burns. You know, I think part of being a prodigy is like, it's like this like infinite passion. You know, so it's like that's why I asked you when you started, because it's like you started at 6 years old, so you've been burning passion in you since.
Right, long time.
For such a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and you think about like the business aspect of what we do.
It's crazy. Like, it's insane.
And we don't have any mentors or anything. And we're just going on straight passion. Yeah. And we just be like, all right, we failed. Learn our lesson, brush it off, keep it moving.
Keep it going.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, you know, I remember when I saw you on August Rush.
Word.
I watched that before I even met you.
Yeah.
I didn't even do 2 and 2 till after I met you.
Yeah.
But that's amazing.
A lot different back then. Yeah.
No, you look the same.
Yeah,
I mean, we look the same. We look the same. But I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't think to be like the progression from there to where you were when I met you.
Yeah.
You know, like
right.
Most times, people who start young, they usually end. It's usually over for them after a certain age. Not trying to sound messed up.
Nah, but I mean that's a real thing,
right?
You know.
So how did you overcome that?
I think I overcame burning out through necessity. This is literally all I know how to do. Like I got to figure this out, you know? And I feel like there's so many people that depend on me, you know? I mean, my parents had me when they were a lot older. So the way I kind of looked at it is that I always had a clock running.
Understood.
You know? Because I want to be able to just hold things down at a certain point in life.
I feel that.
And regular success, to me, is not an option. Like we gotta take it to the moon.
Be exceptional.
Got to be exceptional.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I could be content and just fall off, but that's not. It's honestly just not an option for me.
Right.
I really want to hold it down.
I feel that. Like, I hear it in your music, you know, and a lot of times when we talk about the things that we've talked about, some conversations you might not remember, but I remember, you know, a lot of them. And, you know, there's something consistent throughout the conversation, which is, you know, not stopping. Yeah. You know? And it's like, it's not even about what's next. It's about, like, what can I prove to myself?
Right.
You know? So it's like, because, like, usually people go, wow, I did this one thing. I proved it to myself. I'm gonna just kick it up. Everything else gonna be a breeze, and they just coast.
Right.
After they've done this one amazing thing, and they're like, look, that's the one thing I did, and they keep having to people to go back to that one thing. And it's like when you're an innovator, or when you're someone who desires like true progression, you know, like ultimate sustainability, meaning like you think of something and you want to make it, you just go do it, which is, I know that's one thing you desire.
Yeah.
Constantly. So it's like when you're like that, it's like, how do you organize everything?
I think I kind of veered away from, obviously there has to be, you know, a set schedule, and I have a really great team around me that helps do that. But I think planning out things 2 years in advance, you know, there's like the saying, you know, people make plans and God laughs.
Facts.
Because I feel like there's so much that just pops up, and there's so many moments that I never would have thought would even pop up for me that now I have to really, you know, make work. And with that, sometimes trying to hyper organize everything becomes counterproductive, because now I'm just kind of undoing a lot of expectations rather than just like kind of flowing with the needs of my season, you know?
That's amazing.
But like, I mean, to be honest with you, that's one thing that I have been really trying to work on more, of just like having a set routine when I'm in, you know, one space for the past like a couple months. And you know, it's an everyday journey. I mean, I feel like I'm definitely on a self-improvement kick right now. You know, I just want to be better. I'm about to be 30 soon. You know, like there's so much that I want to get done. And I think a different version of myself is the only kind of human being that's going to be able to kind of deal with that kind of pressure, you know?
I like that you said what you said about just undoing your expectations, like, because it's a battle, you know. It's about, okay, so if I have this envision, if I envision this thing to go this certain type of way, I have the power to actually create the things that will attract the things I want. It's like, okay, I can't receive this information or this event that happens based on what I give it as like me settling, or the universe telling me like, that wasn't enough. And I like that, you know, because I just said today, someone asked me how I felt today, and I always tell my homies, I'm like, look, I'm like, if you are highly ambitious and if you have this thing, like you said, this problem solving thing where you always got something to figure out all the time, I got it. It's like a thing. I understand it. Exactly.
You know.
I understand it. And so I was telling them, I'm like, look, I'm like, of course there's this better version of me in my head that I'm always chasing. You know, like I see him and I'm like, I'm right on your neck, you know what I mean? Like, but then one time I it's basically what you're saying, I'm doing expectations. I was like, look, I was like, as long as that motherfucker in the room, and I'm like, oh, he in the room? All right, cool, everything cool, I'm good. And then today I said, I felt really relieved that I accomplished something that I was afraid of accomplishing. I had to run at it to make it happen, right? And I said, I woke up today and I felt like that better version of me was in the room with me and walked up to me and was like this, you did your thing.
There we go.
Good. And walked back to where he was at. And I was like, that's all I need. All I need is those moments.
That's love.
All I need is those moments where I look at myself and go, yo, your better version of yourself, look at you and go, you did your thing. I'm like, all right, cool, you know? And honestly, that's the only type of validation I feel people like us need. Right. You know, because you're not paying attention to nothing else for real.
Really competing out here. Because, I mean, I think, obviously, you know, you came up from a sports background. I've been in this, like, world for a minute. So there are aspects of being competitive and wanting to do better than your last move.
For sure.
But yeah, I think it really takes things to a new level when the only person you're competing with is yourself. Like, you just rule out so many weird emotions and feelings that aren't productive to what you're trying to accomplish, you know?
Facts. I think that's like, took a long time to learn for me personally. Yeah. Like a long time.
It's real.
Yeah, you know, because you have moments, you know, where you're like, all right, I'm in a groove. Like, I'm in my season, so you're not concerned. And then we do art, so it's like this.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like this, so it's like, all right.
Flow.
You're right, I'm up.
Yeah.
Everything lit. I'm not concerned. I'm unconcerned. Yeah. And as soon as I'm
down,
thinking,
like, damn, all right, what's so-and-so doing there? How can I do it like that? But, what's going on? breathe, bro.
Yeah.
Like, just breathe, man. Just breathe, my nigga. Like,
Facts. So, all right. So, did you go to school or did you do homeschool or?
Yeah, I homeschooled, but I went to public school up until the 10th grade, and I finished out,
Amazing.
11th to 12th.
What was it? What was it like?
Homeschool.
Like transitioning from just going to school to like homeschooling.
Well, first off, my mom. Well, here's the real thing. I didn't get into like major art schools, like
Understood.
PPAS or LaGuardia. To be honest, I wasn't really like that invested in those auditions. I actually had real auditions I was doing. So I was like, oh,
He's like,
shit.
y'all playing, I'm trying to get paid.
Yo, I was like, oh shit, I got an audition for this school. Like, I gotta learn this, and I failed.
Right.
So then I ended up going to this the school called International Studies, which literally was voted the worst school in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
Like straight up. But what the principal was telling my mom was that, listen, we'll work with Leon knowing that he's, an actor and he's flying around.
Yeah.
We'll send him his work and he'll be able to, do his thing. So it worked out. The only thing is that school was like a block away from the projects. So like I just like encountered homies selling crack and having kids at 12. And yeah, it was just a lot of like life lessons.
I was about to say, definitely
It was like the juxtaposition between
That's
being
the word
like
I was gonna use.
on Broadway with kids whose parents are, millionaires,
Right.
to then like, dealing with kids who maybe didn't eat the night before or were like, really, working a side job to be able to support their mom and couldn't work anymore. Like a lot of stories and perspectives that kind of gave me balance. And I'm glad I had that because, I really found my love for hip hop, like learning about Dipset and like kind of like at that time, the modern day version of hip hop. Because like, my parents were older. So like stuff they were playing was like De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Leaders in the New School, stuff like that. But then once I got, in the middle school and I was around, I could really like hear all the records from Atlanta and, really tap into what was hot at that time in a real way, like culturally. It just really put the bug in my ear for like what hip hop meant for that generation and what it could potentially be in the future. I'm so glad I had that opportunity.
Nah, I get what you're saying about the juxtaposition. It's educational.
It's so weird. Like I was going to events, like in a little suit or whatever, and then going to school, and it's like, where your J's at? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you wearing, bro? Like, niggas was on my head. But it is what it is.
Same.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, nah. Cassie's be like, why you wearing church shoes on the Tuesday?
Yeah, what's going on? For real.
Yeah. How important is singing to you?
It's really important. I mean, in my family, like, it's another language. My grandfather sings, my grandmother sang, my dad sings, my mom sings, my cousins sing. Like everybody, like our family reunions are kind of lit because it's like everybody's really, really singing songs and coming up or playing an instrument. And I don't know. I feel like I genuinely feel like every human being can sing with proper training, and an understanding of that muscle, because it's a muscle like any other.
Facts.
If you don't work out for years,
Facts.
you might get fat. So it like when it comes to singing, to me, like seeing how people in this generation are able to manipulate their voices, even like, a lot of people get on rappers for using melodies, but I think it's kind of interesting to hear like these different forms of songs coming from a different set of traumas, like it's like to hear them sing and it's in their own flow and wave. There's melodies that are specific to trap, that are specific to the average mumble rapper, and I think that in itself is kind of interesting. I don't know, I like to study humans, and I think that in itself is like special. So singing's important, and I hope everybody continues to sing, even if you can't fully like go Beyonce crazy. Like I think everybody deserves to, do their thing.
I like what you said about the part about people singing through their traumas, singing out their traumas. Like, that's very important.
Yeah. Where else is it gonna go?
Yeah,
like for real. I
thought about it.
Therapist.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Yeah, the homie from the hood afford a therapist right now. Like I don't know. Like so.
I thought about it.
Gotta go somewhere.
Yeah, it is like a vessel of like a source of release in a sense.
Exactly.
Yes, because I mean, for me personally, it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
Just like writing.
Yeah.
Just like sitting in front of a laptop and making a drum loop for 2 hours.
Come on, man.
Like,
yeah, it
it's
takes
just
time.
yeah, it's just like very meditational. You know, I started meditating late in my life, you know, but earlier, I mean, it was like me and my karaoke machine.
Right.
Did you have a karaoke machine?
Nah, bro.
You had the studio.
Yeah, I did have a
Yeah,
studio.
you was like,
yeah,
that's what I'm trying to tell you, bro. You was like, you advanced, bro.
I don't know, man. Thanks, man.
No, seriously.
Appreciate you, yeah.
Is it weird that I compliment you so much?
You know, nah.
You sure?
It's actually not, you know? Nah. That's cool.
Nah, you are, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Singing's been a part of the mission from a very early age, but I think because everybody in my family sings, I was always like comparing what I could do at that time, kind of early on to that. But I think once I kind of just let go of all comparisons and any fear, just kind of made it fun for myself, you know. I unlocked a lot of things. I think I had to undo a lot of that in my early 20s. So now in my later 20s, I'm able to just like vibe kind of without fear anymore.
Right.
Just, you know, I mean, not to say that, you know, failure's no fun, but it's a part of success. So like, I don't know. It's kind of keep going.
I would say failure is just stopping.
Yeah, for real.
Everything else is just like
For real.
reconnaissance.
Yeah,
It's like practice,
right.
like research.
Yeah.
You know, but like failure is just like to like give up.
Yeah, that's like the true version of failure.
You know, like, cause I remember like when you was working on a Genesis project.
Yeah.
And
damn, we gonna mention that after failure? All right, bro.
no, you didn't even let me finish this statement.
Why you gotta get a failure?
Why you gotta be a comedian, bro? Why you gotta do this?
Great
Yo, you
segue.
funny as hell, bro. You don't know what I was about to say.
I'm fucking with you.
That was good. No, I like that. That was good. I like that. No, I love that project, bro.
Thanks, man.
But I remember like how many risks you had to take.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to get to.
Bro.
It's the risk taking part.
The fucking risk.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Man,
like
I went in with a button up, pink button up to the Capitol building. Like, I need a distro deal. Yeah, this makes sense. Trust me. Let's go. Like, no, it's gonna work out.
Even past that, I remember you stopped doing auditions for a little bit, just focus on the music.
Yeah.
You sacrificed a lot in that moment. I remember because you was like, I need to like rewrite my narrative, like.
Yeah. We got to switch it up.
Yeah, and we spoke about the project being like basically like a symbol of that.
Absolutely. It's why it was called Genesis. I mean, it felt like I was trying to start over. I mean, it was like a new beginning, you know. It was a really hard season in my life, but it wasn't hard in the sense of being something that I couldn't get through, but I think just always knowing in the back of my head that things were going to be okay, but that they weren't necessarily all the way there yet, was always this like weird looming factor. It's like this unknown character in my life that's a TV show, you know? Like, so I personally, now looking back at that time period, really thank God for giving me the opportunity to like be hungry enough to like really create something different.
Yeah, and brave, just courageous. You know, I think like, cause I was talking to the homies and I was like, man, like talent ain't enough.
Nah,
you know, that's a lot of talented people on the planet.
That's a fact.
And I'm like, I guess the difference is like, who taking the risk when nobody telling them to. You know?
Preach.
So it's like, nobody told you to do what you decided that time. I remember, because I'm sure everybody would tell you, like, what do you mean? You're an actor? Like, you just produce for people. You just write these songs for these people over here. You go over here, you do these auditions. You go on set. You wait in your trailer till they call you. They say action. You do your thing. You know, you do leonthomas. You feel me? And then you leave and you go home and then they're like, all right, cool. And you like, nah, y'all got me confused.
Absolutely confused.
Right.
But I mean, that's okay. I think not. You know, the one thing that I've been really holding on to recently is that 100% of the world is never going to understand 100% of me. Like, there's going to be time periods where people just don't understand what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. But that's okay, because I mean, the conversations I have with God, the conversations, you know, the things that I pray for, you know, are like, there's signs around me that show me that like I'm on the right path, and I just gotta, you know, trust in the beaten road that's ahead of me right now, you know. And it's really scary having people that you respect or that you love tell you, nah, I don't know, or, maybe try this, or you should be doing it this way because this has worked for so and so. But you know, I'm gonna continue to like operate from a place of you know, my gut, and obviously, you know, tap in and listen when necessary. But I think it's an important thing to continue to follow.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, man.
I like that.
Thanks, bro.
Do you have any words of wisdom besides what you just said?
You know, to be honest with you, I'm just figuring it out, y'all. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I don't have any wisdom for you right now. But one thing I can say, it's gonna sound mad corny,
That's
but
fine.
like, I feel like really tapping into your inner self is an important journey. I don't know when you're gonna decide to do that or if you've already done it, but I think the work is never done. And if you can, you know, pick up whatever tools you can that will give you an opportunity to really understand your subconscious, understand like the why behind a lot of your actions. And I feel like that'll kind of guide you through a lot of tough situations, you know?
That was pretty wise.
All right.
You a down player, bro. You fired, bro. You like, I don't really got no words of wisdom, but, you know.
Definitely something
That was
like,
fire.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
thanks, man.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming, bro.
Let's spread the word, man.
All right, cut. We good. That was good.
Man, thanks,
Thank you, bro.
Man, that was cool.
You liked it?
Hell yeah.